Here we are already in December. Time to talk about what's happening for the last month of this year before we look ahead to the year ahead in a month's time. But meanwhile, there's quite a lot happening considering it is the end of the year. Of course, the G20 and South Africa's new leadership in that situation. That is going to be quite an important development, at least internally within the ANC, especially, even more so than the government as a whole. It does seem as if perhaps that and perhaps other circumstances are giving the president and his party a new kind of courage and a new kind of strength. We have seen the situation in the last few weeks yet again of this ongoing struggle between the DA and the ANC within the GNU, and we've seen the ongoing efforts, whereas there are indeed forums for them to sort that out. Doesn't seem as if much different has really happened, and they continue to kind of scrape up against each other as they pull in different directions in this GNU. But the G20 situation and perhaps a few other things happening behind the scenes, I'll get back to those, might be giving this new strength and even a little bit of belligerence to the ANC part of the government and, of course, to the president. The behind the scenes business is that the ANC seem to be continuing their flirtations with various new allies and other foreign governments and input like that. There does seem to be increasing shift, as has been going on and off for months in the charts, increasing shifts with in terms of who our allies are. And we know the situation in America with the change of government there is going to affect us, and that will especially be, of course, after January when they do change their government again. But we can see some kind of realignments already happening in the South African situation. It might include things like there's still the matter of, the various sides of the story on South Africa's cousin, cuddling up to Russia again, and as we do, and those kind of things are probably part of the picture as well. And while everyone's still trying to work out what's the kind of new America going to be, that's probably happening behind the scenes here a little bit as well. So, in a nutshell, there's all this kind of subtle but real realignment going on in terms of allies and not so allied allies. I want to call them enemies, but not so ally on the ANC side, and that probably also increasing the friction with the DA. But the ANC and the president are trying to show muscle, and that's where it's going to happen. And the interesting thing is also either showing the muscle there or just getting on with it also behind the scenes is Jacob Zuma and his MK party. And we know that he believes he's going to be the president very soon again. But apart from that side of his political story, there certainly does seem to be a lot of, for him as well, interaction with foreign powers and foreign entities. Remember, he's got plenty allies in plenty places, Russia, and not being the least of those, and not necessarily directly governments themselves, but agencies within those governments, as we know from his history. And there's a lot of that going on in the background, something some of us might be forgetting. He might not be the president anymore, but he's still got a lot of friends that aren't just friends in this country. Looks like there could be finance coming to him from outside that way, and there certainly could be other interactions. I don't know what he's planning, and we shouldn't read too much into that. It's not as if he's planning something with other governments. It's just that he is benefiting from his friends. That's the important way to understand it. And we know he's going to show a lot of belligerence in the next month or two as well. As usual, very little likely to come of it here, but it is helping his own behind the scenes agenda, which, if nothing else, boosts his ego. So, but boosting, what is good for the boosting in this country is the financial situation. It looks like the rand will again stabilize, begin to improve as expected. It did struggle a little bit in the last month, but it does look as if that's going to start improving again, and that's a good sign not only for the currency but for the economy and financial issues as a whole. And what also boosts us and boosts our morale is what's happening in the sport and art department in the chart. In astrology, we can link those together as they sometimes are by government to everyone's chagrin, but in astrology, it makes it actually easier for us. So the hard part is knowing which one's which, but it's usually both of them. So it looks like we're going to be chuffed about what's happening in our sporting situation, but especially what's happening in the arts situation. We've seen great strides in the world of music in recent times, and that looks like that's what's going on. And and that's the kind of best way to end the year, to literally end the year on a high note and a high, beautiful, perfect musical note. Maybe it's our shining star Tyra, maybe there's more to it than that, but it does look as if despite everything that happens politically, there is a lot of reason for us to be feeling a little bit more optimistic as the year draws to a close. As I've said, there is, a lot happening behind the scenes, not in the usual secrets that need to be exposed sense, just as in the usual diplomats and backdoor political interactions and deals and all of that going on. As I said, this time with a foreign connection and with allies and so on. And that's really going to start showing its effects into the new year, which we will be looking at. So remember, beginning of January, we will be looking at the year ahead and seeing what we can glean from all of that. But in the meanwhile, let's sing that high note, end the year well, and let's see what you can expect for yourself. Aries certainly looks like it's still going to be a busy month for you, even though the end of the year might be approaching faster than a freight train. It looks like lots of things are falling into place. Some stuff that you've been working on for ages might be resolving or finishing or making a major leap forward. There's plenty of space for new stuff. In fact, this looks like a good time to kind of push your own projects, maybe take a risk, or it might not even be a risk, but it's kind of just time to bring your own stuff and put it out there and pursue that because it looks like doors could be opening for you and others might be helpful as well. In fact, your chart suggests that help, support, input might come from far off sources or new sources or kind of a little bit unexpected sources. So broaden your mind, broaden your approach, put yourself and your own goals forward. That really seems to be what's going to work best for you during the course of the month ahead. And that's going to be by the end of the year, you're going to kind of wrap up this year feeling satisfied, feeling things have really worked out for you, and looking forward to what goals lie ahead in the new year. Really looks like a great way to finish off the year. Personal relationships might be just as rewarding. New input is also what's required there. Maybe doing something new together, bringing some new energy into the relationship so that you can wrap up everything feeling satisfied about it all. Enjoy. Taurus, it looks like there are some changes happening in your personal life, and maybe it's actually just time to be proactive and make some changes in your personal life. There are people in your world who probably aren't really serving your world very well at the moment, and this could be a great time for a little bit of spring cleaning, just to be a little bit more selective about who your social circle is, who's close to you, who's important to you. Some of those changes are going to be happening on their own, and you might find, friends going, friends coming, and things changing back. And don't hold on to old stuff. You've got a strong tendency to do that because, you love your security. But this is not the time to be looking for that security in people. So, this is much more the time to really depend on yourself and to identify your more important, closer relationships. Your romantic relationships, one-to-one relationships, that's going to be a great source of strength and support and good social input at this time. That'll help you tell the difference between who's really important in your life and who isn't. You can also do a bit of a shake-up in the area of goals. Not a big deal. Wait till next year before big goal changes or whatever might happen. But start thinking about what's the bigger picture? What do I really want to do with what I'm doing? Why am I doing this? Next year, you can answer that question, but plant that seed. Geminis, you need to bring your year to a close with a little bit of internal stock taking or maybe some general stock taking about your life. Certainly, time to withdraw from the world a little bit, and perfect timing for that with the end of the year approaching. Spend some time alone. You might even be kind of forced to spend some time alone in situations where you have to spend some time alone. It's all good because this is an opportunity to reflect and to kind of clear out some old baggage or old stuff that you've been carrying with you, because this is really not only because there is a new year ahead, but because your chart shows baggage is becoming detrimental to you. So it's the month for a good, long, hard look at yourself and really seeing what can you get rid of and what's beginning to be a little bit toxic in your life, because that's what it's all about. On the subject of looking within and checking out all that stuff, this is a great time to do a thorough check with yourself, physical health, and make sure you start planning for or instituting some health programs. Dealing with old stuff that's been dragging along can also be those kind of things, not only the emotional stuff. So a general internal spring clean is achieved this month, Geminis, by spending quality time alone. That's the plan. Cancerians, looks like you're going to end the year on a positive note. It'll feel like you're kind of taking charge of things that needed to be taken charge of, perhaps for the longest time, but certainly when looking ahead to the time ahead. So that's your professional life and your financial life, your kind of daily affairs and the things that you need to do in order to succeed. All of that is very much under your belt, in control, and it actually looks very good for money, for business, for those kind of things, things that make you secure and things that advance your goals in the month ahead. Personal life might be a little bit more challenging. It does look like there are some changes in your personal environment and some changes in friendships. And you actually need to have a look at your old patterns and your old habits that might be negatively affecting your emotional life. Some of those changes are about your friends making changes, friends leaving, or friendship circle changing in some senses, and new friends coming in too goes there. But some of those changes are also because you might be putting strain on some of your relationships, and you need to change some things about yourself or about how you're handling those relationships in order to help those relationships improve. Look at putting new energy into your relationships. Let go of old patterns, and you can go ahead socially successful as well. Leos, it does look like December is your opportunity to kind of get your house in order before you launch into whatever your plans are for next year. Getting your house in order really means spending time at home, literally getting things in order. You need to clear up your own space in some way in order to feel more secure. Make your home your castle, and like that, everything else tends to benefit along the way. It's a little bit easier said than done because, as often is the case, people are going to be some of the problem. And while you're trying to settle down your own life in your domestic space, other people's interventions or place in your life might be unsettling you as well. And maybe, just like your next door neighbors, you might be spending more quality time alone. And like that, really being able to get yourself in order at the same time, not just about the house. So this is really the opportunity to look at your own sense of security and kind of move out of your life those things are unsettling it, those things that are unsettling it, especially if that's the case, if that's people. People maybe just need to step a little bit back or detach a little bit so that you can bring yourself back into better order. But for the most part, you're building a lot of strength this month. It's going to take you into the new year with a good foundation. Virgos, this is your month of establishing clarity, seeking clarity, finding clarity, hopefully. It's all about just making sure the lines of communication are properly open and that the communication in question is properly flowing. Because this month you are a little bit challenged with regards to misunderstandings, especially being misunderstood yourself more so than you misunderstanding other people, but it potentially does work both ways. So, really, what's needed is new strategies of communication. And this is a great opportunity to identify what communication strategies in the past, especially the recent past, have not been working. Where are you not being heard or not being understood? And rather than trying to kind of hammer the message across, rather look at the process of how can I improve my message so that it is better understood, because this is an opportunity to kind of create new ways and forge new pathways of interaction and communication. It does mean people are all about and people might actually be getting on your nerves, and that's also a great opportunity to look at yourself and say, how am I communicating? What am I feeling about the people in my life? Clarity of communication creates clarity of everything else. Libra, you can finish the year on a solid note by sorting out house and home, just like a few other people are finishing the year this year. This is a really great time for redecoration, moving things around, sorting out your domestic space. If you have a chance to move at this time or some other change of your domestic space, this is a great time to be doing that. And just make sure that by the end of the month, everything is in place. There is a little bit of an ulterior motive going on in your chart as well, because this is also a great opportunity to kind of rebalance some of what's happening in your personal life by shifting around some of that domestic space. That means domestic relationships. Most important, your partner and of course anyone else living in the house as well. If you've got kids or whoever might be in the house, this is a great chance to kind of do it all at once. Changing what's happening physically in the home can also help change what's happening in terms of all those interpersonal relationships as well. So this is your opportunity to create some peace and harmony. Relationships are really strengthening during the course of this month. You can also make sure that you're a team when it comes to sorting out the domestic space physically and in terms of peace in the home. Great opportunity to sort out everyone and everything under your roof. Scorpio looks like a fun ending for the year for you. It looks like perhaps you're having parties all December long, but even if that's not your route, it still looks like things are working in a way for you that feels good, feels like you're doing things that you enjoy, that you love, that you're getting the kind of results that you really want. In fact, it feels to you like your life is under your control, that everything you're concerned about or that you need to do is on the table in front of you and all working very well for you. So this is the month to wrap up the year on a strong positive note. It's especially important this month to have a look at, am I really doing what I love? What do I need to change about next year? That's going to be what it is. If you are doing things that you love, this is the month where you're going to be doing more of that. But it's really also about making sure that both the things that you love, the people that you love, the activities that are pleasurable to you, all form an important part of your month this month as perhaps a preparation for the year ahead. It looks like it is going to be a month that you really feel like you made a lot of progress, and that'll also be true in your professional life. So you'll be able to wrap things up on a strong, positive note in preparation for the year ahead. Sagittarius, it's time to deal with unfinished business. You need to end the year on a strong note. It's your birthday month, so you're really getting into that saddle again. You know, in astrology, the birthday is really the start of the new year. So even though January is not far away, This is your New Year's month. This is the time then to make sure that you've got a clean slate ahead of you. And the only way that you're going to do that is by dealing with old things. So it is your month to deal with baggage, to deal with unfinished business, to deal with stuff you've been avoiding. It doesn't even have to be baggage in some negative sense of the word. It's just been the stuff that's just whether it's too much of an effort or most commonly it's boring, it's undesirable, it's been there, done that. Well, you're not quite done with the done that. So this is also the time to wrap up some of the been there, done that as well, and get yourself back on track with a fresh, clean slate for what lies ahead. This could also be a great opportunity to deal with old niggling things that maybe, whether they're health related things or whether they're business related things, niggles out of the way. This is the time to do that. It could also be time to tell people what needs to be told. In wrapping up old business and wrapping up old things, well, some of those involve people as well. But you can sort out stuff, clear up some relationships, really improve and strengthen them as well, so that you can go ahead with that fresh slate socially as well. Capricorn, there are some personal relationships which need a little bit of a shake-up. You might be dragging along a situation that is really limiting you or constraining you in some way. And it looks like, old habits die hard, and Capricorns stick to old habits and familiar ways much too easily because you can endure stuff even when it isn't doing you any good. Well, that's what you need to have a look at. Have a look at your closest relationships and ask yourself, is it doing me any good? And you can be easily honest with yourself because you know the answer even before you ask the question. So this is the opportunity perhaps to create some boundaries. Doesn't mean you have to end things. It just means create some good boundaries, create some clear rules or whatever might be necessary in order for the relationship to work better. This is a good time to establish new relationships as well. So, a change in your social environment, a bit of a shake-up in your social environment will do the world of good for you at this particular time. For the most part, Capricorn, it is a good month for relationships, but as long as you're proactive, engage, and take charge in what's happening in your life, because some of those relationships right now are possibly a little bit toxic. You know which ones they are, and you're the only person who can do something about it. So, what are you waiting for? Aquarius, you might be tracking along a little bit complacently, assuming that everything is working as it's been working the last couple of months when it comes to relying on other people or relying on things outside of yourself. And it looks like that isn't quite the case. So you need to do a little bit of taking stock and perhaps make yourself more aware of whatever is affecting your situation at the moment. You could be off in your planning mode and your strategizing mode, and all of that's great. But none of those strategies are going to work if the groundwork is not there to support you, if there isn't a good foundation underneath all of that. So you need to be concentrating on the good foundation underneath all of that. And the way to do that is to take charge yourself, become proactive and very aware and look carefully at all these things and people that you rely on, because that's where the problem is. It does seem as if someone or something that you rely on is not happening, and you might not be noticing that as well. There could be great opportunity for new resources, new people, or whatever those resources need to be. But for that to be true, you need to look further afield. And in fact, everything far afield is great for you. Even is a great month for travel, but not until you just made sure that the foundation at home is secure. Then you can head off to greener pastures for a bit. Pisces, you often thrive in the world of ideas and bigger pictures, all of those kind of things. This is a great month to be coming from that point of view. This is the time to look at the bigger picture. You can make plans and strategies for the year ahead, but most importantly for the month ahead, and really make sure that you can understand the connections between things. There is a little bit of a caution because you might be kidding yourself. You might be a little bit of a too much of an optimist, although optimism is still a good thing at this time. But nevertheless, it is still a really good time to benefit from seeing that bigger picture. As long as you make sure that you or someone else is keeping a bit of a grounding check, just to make sure you are literally taking everything into account. Nevertheless, these strategies are going to work for you. They may even seem way out there. If you've got other people working with you at the moment, they need to accept that you've got a vision at this time. Even if it's not about other people, this month is about your vision for yourself, your vision for your business, your vision for your relationship, whatever it may be. It's time to be looking at that vision, still considering the reality of what's going on in your life and moving towards the vision. This is the month that can make all the difference in that regard.